What if I told you that the single most critical factor determining whether you will conquer your biggest life goals or fail miserably tonight has absolutely nothing to do with your talent, your intelligence, or how hard you work, but instead depends entirely on how you fix your sheets when you get out of bed? It sounds completely absurd, but in the elite, high-stakes world of Navy SEAL training, this deceptively simple task is a foundation of an unshakable mindset that separates the top 1% from the rest of the world. Welcome to Visual Books. And in this video, we are breaking down the legendary masterpiece, Make Your Bed by Admiral William H. McRaven. If you are currently feeling completely overwhelmed by stress, stuck in a cycle of procrastination, or frustrated because you are not reaching your full potential, this video was made specifically for you. By staying with me until the very end of this audiobook summary, you are going to gain a bulletproof 10-step tactical formula for building military-grade discipline, shattering your deep-seated anxieties, and finding the raw internal strength to rise to the occasion when your world gets at its absolute darkest. Do not hit that back button. Do not compromise on your future, and do not cheat yourself out of the breakthroughs waiting for you in these next few minutes. Your journey to a completely transformed life begins right now. Imagine waking up at the crack of dawn, your muscles aching from the grueling exhaustion of Navy SEAL training, only to face a room full of hardened instructors looking for the slightest excuse to break your spirit. In the first chapter of his book, Admiral William H. McRaven introduces us to the deceptively simple ritual that anchored his entire military career, making your bed. While it sounds like mundane advice your parents would nag you about, McRaven explains that in the high-stakes environment of basic underwater demolition as SEAL training, a perfectly made bed was a critical psychological victory. The instructors require the corners to be perfectly square, the blanket pulled taut, and the pillow centered exactly under the headboard. To illustrate the profound impact of this, imagine a chaotic corporate setting or a chaotic morning where everything seems to go completely wrong. You spill your coffee, your computer crashes, and you miss a crucial deadline. If your physical environment is a disaster area, your mind absorbs that chaos, amplifying your stress. However, if you started your morning by taking 60 seconds to pull up your sheets and smooth out the wrinkles, you have already executed your very first mission of the day. This small act provides a subtle psychological nudge, a tiny hit of dopamine, and a concrete demonstration that you possess control over your immediate reality, no matter how unpredictable the outside world becomes. It sets a structured tone for the hours ahead, reinforcing the fundamental truth that the little things in life matter. If you cannot do the little things right, you will never be able to do the big things right. Furthermore, if you happen to have a miserable, exhausting day when nothing goes your way, you will eventually come home to a bed that is neatly made by you. That pristine bed stands as a quiet, powerful symbol of order, comfort, and encouragement, reminding you that tomorrow is a fresh opportunity to try again. So, when you look at your own morning routine, ask yourself, are you rushing out into the world unprepared, leaving a trail of physical and mental clutter behind you? How can you expect to conquer giant life goals if you choose to retreat from the very first task presented to you at dawn? By taking ownership of your space the moment your feet hit the floor, you build a foundation of discipline that ripples through every decision you make for the rest of the day. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section emphasize that achieving large-scale success begins with mastering the absolute smallest habits. The primary actionable lesson is to commit to making your bed perfectly every single morning without exception, viewing it as your first completed task rather than a mindless chore. By doing so, you establish immediate order over your environment, build a momentum of productivity that carries into your next responsibilities, and create a physical sanctuary of neatness to return to at night. This practice teaches you that minor details dictate the quality of your larger achievements, and it forces you to practice personal discipline at a time when your brain is most tempted to choose comfort over action. Picture yourself standing on a freezing, pitch-black beach in the middle of the night, shivering violently as freezing ocean waves crash against your chest during the infamous Navy SEAL Hell Week. In this brutal environment, Admiral William H. McRaven introduces us to the heavy rubber inflatable boat that every 7-man crew must carry everywhere they go. If even one person decides to slack off, stop paddling, or nurse their own pain, the boat loses momentum, gets smashed by the surf, and flips over, dumping everyone into the treacherous water. McRaven uses his vivid military experience to destroy the myth of the lone wolf, proving that no matter how smart, strong, or talented you think you are. Nobody makes it through life completely on their own. To bring this into our everyday reality, consider the journey of launching a new business venture or navigating a high-stakes group project at school or wake. You might stay up all night, drinking endless cups of coffee, convinced that you can carry the entire weight of the enterprise on your back because you trust your own skills above anyone else's. But eventually, exhaustion sets in, mistakes are made, and the project begins to sink because you refuse to delegate or ask for assistance. Life is exactly like that 7-man rubber boat. It requires a dedicated crew of family, friends, mentors, and colleagues to help you paddle through the rough patches. We all face moments of deep vulnerability where our physical strength or mental resolve fails us, and in those moments, survival depends entirely on the people standing next to us. Think about your own current goals and the heavy burdens you might be secretly struggling to carry right now. Are you pushing away the very people who want to see you succeed out of a stubborn sense of pride? Why do we view asking for help as a sign of weakness when it is actually the ultimate strategy for long-term survival and success? By shifting your mindset from a solitary struggle to a collaborative effort, you tap into a collective strength that allows you to weather any storm. You must find your crew, learn to trust them, and realize that true greatness is a team sport. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section center on the absolute necessity of human connection and mutual support for overcoming life's greatest challenges. The core actionable lesson is to actively identify your own personal support network and practice the vulnerability required to ask for help when your individual strength is failing. Additionally, you must commit to being a reliable crew member for others, paddling just as hard to lift them up when they are struggling. By abandoning the illusion of self-sufficiency, you build stronger partnerships, reduce personal burnout, and recognize that navigating difficult times requires a shared effort where everyone contributes to keeping the boat moving forward. Imagine lining up for a brutal physical evaluation next to a crowd of towering, muscular specimens who look like they were genetically engineered in a lab specifically to become elite warriors. In this chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven shatters our assumptions about what it takes to succeed by introducing us to a legendary classmate of his, a young man who was barely over 5 feet 4 inches tall. The instructors routinely looked at this unassuming trainee and scoffed, confident that the grueling demands of SEAL training would crush his small frame within days. Yet, when it came time to swim miles through freezing, shark-infested waters or sprint across treacherous sand dunes carrying heavy logs, this pint-sized warrior routinely outpaced giants. McRaven uses his striking memory to prove that true capability has absolutely nothing to do with your physical stature, your social status, or the surface-level advantages you were born with. To connect this to our everyday world, imagine a highly competitive corporate job interview or a high-stakes sports triad where you feel completely outclassed by everyone else in the room. Maybe they went to fancier schools, possess more expensive equipment, or look the part perfectly, while you are left feeling like an imposter who does not belong. It is incredibly easy to let that superficial intimidation cause you to defeat yourself before the battle even begins. However, history is filled with underdogs who completely transformed industries and achieved the impossible simply because they possess an unshakable, burning desire that could not be measured by a standard test or tape measure. When the pressure intensifies and everything hurts, a big ego and big muscles fade quickly, leaving only raw willpower and character. Think about the areas in your life where you have been holding yourself back because you felt you did not match the ideal prototype of success. Are you allowing external metrics and the opinions of doubters to dictate the boundaries of your potential? What would change if you stopped looking at what you lack and started relying entirely on the depth of your determination? By choosing to measure your readiness by your internal drive rather than your external circumstances, you unlock a relentless work ethic that can outlast any naturally gifted competitor. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section emphasize that internal character, grit, and passion will always triumph over superficial advantages or physical limitations. The primary actionable lesson is to refuse to let self-doubt or external intimidation dictate your performance when facing superior competition or daunting challenges. You must focus your energy entirely on maximizing your effort, developing a fierce, unyielding work ethic, and out-preparing everyone else in the room. By shifting your focus from what you lack to how deeply you care, you learn to treat determination as your ultimate competitive edge, proving that success is ultimately decided by your willingness to endure and fight harder than anyone else. Imagine working your absolute hardest, double-checking every single detail of your presentation, and executing your job flawlessly, only to watch a random mistake by an outside vendor ruin the entire project and cause your manager to blame you anyway. In this chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven introduces us to one of the most psychologically agonizing punishments in Navy SEAL training, the sugar cookie. For no predictable reason at all, an instructor would look a trainee in the eye, find a flawless uniform, and order them to run fully clothed into the freezing ocean surf, roll around in the fine beach sand until they were completely covered from head to toe, and stay in that cold, chafing, miserable condition for the rest of the day. There was no justice in it, no explanation given, and no amount of perfection could save you from it because the entire purpose of the exercise was to teach a brutal, unvarnished truth about the universe. Life is fundamentally not fair. To ground this abstract concept into our daily experience. Think about the student who studies for months for an entrance exam, only to fall suddenly ill on the day of the test, or the dedicated driver whose pristine, well-maintained car gets randomly sideswiped by a reckless driver in a parking lot. When these chaotic events happen, our default human setting is to complain, play the victim, wallow in self-pity, and scream at the universe demanding to know why we were singled out for such bad luck. But McRaven points out that the most successful individuals do not waste a single second crying about their circumstances or blaming their environment. They accept the harsh reality of the situation, lift their chin up, and drive on regardless of the adversity. Think about your own current struggles and the moments where you felt cheated by an unfair outcome or an unexpected setback. Are you paralyzed by resentment, waiting for someone to come apologize to you or fix a situation that was not your fault? How much energy are you wasting trying to fight a past reality that cannot be changed, instead of focusing on your very next move? By adopting the mindset that life owes you absolutely nothing, you reclaim your personal power and realize that while you cannot control the random storm that hit you, you have absolute control over how you choose to sail through them. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section focus on accepting the inherent unfairness of life without letting it break your spirit or stop your progress. The primary actionable lesson is to completely eliminate complaining, blaming, and self-pity from your psychological toolkit whenever you face an unjust setback or failure. You must train yourself to acknowledge the bad situation quickly, accept that life is unpredictable, and immediately pivot your focus toward finding a practical solution or taking the next step forward. By embracing accountability for your response rather than the event itself, you build a resilient, unshakable mindset that allows you to thrive under any conditions, ensuring that no amount of unfair circumstances can permanently derail your goals. Imagine pushing your body to the absolute limit during a grueling physical fitness test, only to fall short of the required time and find your name posted on a public list of failures. In this chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven introduces us to the dreaded punishment known as a circus. If a Navy SEAL trainee failed to meet the strict standards on any event during the day, their reward was an extra 2 hours of agonizing calisthenics at the very end of the day, designed to completely wear down their remaining strength and break them mentally. It was a vicious cycle because the extra fatigue made you much more likely to fail again the next day, leading to yet another exhausting circus. McRaven and his swim partner found themselves on this list repeatedly, facing the humiliating prospect that their constant failures would eventually cause them to be dropped from a program entirely. To connect this painful experience to our everyday lives, think about a hypothetical scenario where you are trying to learn a complex new skill, like mastering a programming language, learning to play a difficult instrument, or trying to scale a new business. You put in the hours, but your first few attempts fail miserably, your code is full of bugs, your music sounds terrible, or your business loses money. The natural human reaction to consistent failure is to feel deeply discouraged, internalize a defeat, and assume that you simply do not have what it takes to succeed. But a fascinating thing happened to McRaven and his partner during those extra, agonizing hours of exercise. The constant punishment actually built deep physical endurance, and the extra pain forced their muscles to adapt and grow stronger than those of the trainees who had never failed. When the final, most difficult swimming test arrived, the men who had been broken down by the circus actually shattered the record and finished first. This proves that failure is not a permanent destination or a label defining who you are, but rather a brutal, highly effective training ground designed to test your resolve and build your capabilities. Think about the biggest professional or personal setbacks you are dealing with right now. Are you viewing your recent failures as a definitive stop sign, or are you choosing to look at them as an intense workout meant to build the mental muscles you need for the next level? Why do we allow a temporary defeat to convince us that we are incapable, instead of using that pain as fuel to sharpen our skills and make our next attempt completely undeniable? By shifting your relationship with failure, you realize that the obstacles that test you are the exact tools that prepare you for greatness. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section demonstrate that failure is an essential catalyst for growth, and that the difficulties we face can be leveraged to build superior strength. The primary actionable lesson is to reframe every setback, mistake, or rejection as a mandatory training session rather than a reason to quit. When you experience a failure in your career or personal life, you must intentionally analyze what went wrong, embrace the discomfort, and immediately use that feedback to work harder and smarter on your next attempt. By refusing to let failure define your identity, you transform your lowest moments into a source of resilience, ensuring that the extra pressure you endure ultimately elevates your performance far beyond your original limits. Imagine standing at the edge of a towering, multi-story platform, looking down at a razor-thin steel zipline stretched across a dizzying drop during the most terrifying obstacle course of Navy SEAL training. In this chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven recounts a moment of intense fear where he had to break a long-standing course record to pass, but the standard, cautious method of sliding down the rope style first was simply too slow. To achieve the impossible, he had to make a gut-wrenching decision to do something that looked completely insane: slide down the line head first, risking a catastrophic fall just to shave off a few vital seconds. McRaven uses his heart-pounding military memory to illustrate that if you want to achieve extraordinary results, you must be willing to abandon the safety of the status quo and dare greatly. To map this onto our everyday lives, imagine a talented professional stuck in a secure but entirely unfulfilling corporate desk job, harboring a secret passion to launch an innovative tech startup or a unique creative brand. Day after day, they look at the terrifying drop of leaving their steady paycheck, paralyzed by the fear of what might happen if they fail, if the market rejects them, or if they lose their savings. Because of this anxiety, they choose to play it completely safe, sliding slowly and cautiously through life, only to watch more daring individuals take the leap, seize the market, and claim the rewards. Playing it safe is often the riskiest strategy of all because it guarantees that you will remain exactly where you are, trapped by your own comfort zone. True progress requires you to stare your deepest anxieties in the face, calculate the risks, and plunge forward into the unknown even when your hands are shaking. Think about your own current goals and the major decisions you have been delaying out of a fear of the unknown. Are you letting the dread of a potential failure prevent you from even trying to reach your full capability? What magnificent achievements are you actively blocking right now simply because you refuse to take a calculated, courageous leap of faith? By recognizing that fear is merely an illusion designed to test your resolve, you can find the courage to dive headfirst into your true potential, knowing that those who dare greatly are the ones who ultimately alter the course of their destiny. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section emphasize that achieving greatness requires a deliberate willingness to embrace risk and overcome paralyzing fear. The primary actionable lesson is to identify one major, calculated risk in your career or personal life that you have been avoiding out of fear and explicitly map out the steps to take that leap. You must train yourself to realize that comfort is the enemy of growth and that playing it safe will never yield extraordinary outcomes. By changing your relationship with risk, trusting your preparation, and actively choosing audacity over hesitation, you build the inner fortitude necessary to shatter records, overcome deep-seated anxieties, and claim the massive opportunities that timid individuals leave behind. Imagine swimming through the pitch-black, freezing waters of the coast of San Clemente Island, entirely aware that beneath your dangling feet roams a massive, ruthless predator capable of tearing you to pieces in a split second. In this gripping chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven takes us into the dark domain of the great white shark, a terrifying hazard that every Navy SEAL trainee must confront during their long-distance night swims. The instructors explicitly teach the trainees that if a shark begins to circle them, they must not swim away out of fear, because showing weakness or panic only invites an attack. Instead, they are taught to stand their ground, look the beast directly in the eye, and if it rushes toward them, summon every ounce of courage to punch it squarely in the snout. McRaven uses his terrifying military experience as a metaphor for the human bullies, toxic personalities, and intimidating obstacles we all inevitably encounter throughout our lives. To ground this abstract concept into our daily reality, think about a hostile office environment where an aggressive coworker or an overbearing manager routinely takes credit for your hard work, speaks over you in meetings, or uses intimidation to make you feel inferior. Or perhaps you are dealing with an internal bully, like a paralyzing imposter syndrome or a hypercritical inner voice that constantly tells you that you are not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough to succeed. The natural, instinctual human response to aggression or deep intimidation is to shrink back, remain silent, play it safe, and hope the threat simply goes away on its own. But just like the great white sharks of San Clemente, real-life bullies and systemic obstacles feed entirely on intimidation, growing bolder and more aggressive the more you retreat. They test your boundaries to see if you will fold under pressure. If you allow fear to dictate your actions, you give away your power before the fight even begins. True courage is not the total absence of fear. It is a realization that something else is far more important than your immediate comfort. Think about the intimidating forces or manipulative people you are currently allowing to dictate your peace of mind or career growth. Are you avoiding a difficult but necessary confrontation because you are terrified of the discomfort or the potential fallout? How much longer will you allow fear to keep you paralyzed in the shadows, waiting for an external savior who is never going to come? By deciding to stand firm, hold your head high, and boldly state your boundaries, you force the predators in your life to realize that you are not easy prey, completely shifting the power dynamic in your favor. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section center on the vital importance of confronting intimidation, bullies, and toxic forces head-on with courage and resolve. The primary actionable lesson is to identify the biggest intimidating factor or boundary-stepping individual in your life right now and actively choose to stand your ground instead of shrinking back. You must realize that avoiding confrontation only empowers the aggressor, and that true self-respect requires you to clearly communicate your boundaries and defend your worth. By refusing to let fear dictate your silence and choosing to firmly address threats, whether they are external critics or your own internal doubts, you reclaim your personal authority, break the cycle of intimidation, and prove to yourself that your spirit cannot be easily broken. Imagine being tasked with swimming underwater in total, suffocating darkness beneath a massive naval vessel, knowing that your target is a tiny, specific spot on the ship's keel where you must attach an explosive device during a high-stakes training mission. In this gripping chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven describes the terrifying experience of the ship attack dive, an exercise where the absolute deepest fears of a trainee are brought to life. As you dive under the ship, the noise from the vessel's machinery is completely deafening, the lack of light causes total disorientation, and you find yourself trapped in an abyss where you cannot distinguish between up and down. To survive this claustrophobic nightmare, the instructors emphasize a crucial rule. When you are at your lowest, darkest, and most vulnerable point under the ship, you must remain absolutely calm, block out the chaos, and summon every ounce of your internal strength to execute your duty. McRaven uses his intense military experience to demonstrate that our true character is not revealed when things are easy, sunny, and going exactly according to plan. Rather, it is forged in the darkest hours of our lives when tragedy strikes, when businesses collapse, or when personal loss leaves us feeling completely broken. To bring this abstract concept into our everyday lives, consider a hypothetical scenario where an entrepreneur spends years pouring their life savings, sleepless nights, and emotional energy into launching a retail startup, only for a sudden global economic crisis to completely decimate consumer spending, leaving them on the absolute brink of bankruptcy. In that terrifying moment of financial and emotional darkness, it is incredibly easy to give into panic, throw your hands up and surrender, and allow the crushing weight of the situation to pull you under. However, history shows that the most impactful leaders and resilient individuals are those who choose to rise to the occasion precisely when everything around them is crumbling into chaos. They recognize that when the night is at its darkest, that is the exact moment they must shine the brightest by exhibiting exceptional composure, stepping up to guide their team, and making clear, rational decisions. Think about the most stressful and agonizing moments you have faced recently, or perhaps a crisis you are currently attempting to navigate. Are you allowing the loud, deafening noise of your external anxieties to paralyze your ability to think clearly and take action? Will you choose to shrink back into the shadows when the pressure hits its peak? Or will you find the inner fortitude to stand tall and become a beacon of strength for the people who are relying on you to find a way out? By actively training your mind to seek out clarity within chaos, you transform your greatest moments of vulnerability into your greatest achievements, proving that you have a capacity to master the dark instead of letting it master you. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section highlight that your finest moments as a human being should happen during your darkest and most challenging circumstances. The primary actionable lesson is to consciously cultivate a habit of radical composure and mental stillness whenever an unexpected crisis or high-pressure situation strikes your career or personal life. Instead of allowing panic, fear, or emotional chaos to dictate your behavior, you must deliberately slow down your breathing, block out the external noise, focus entirely on the immediate task at hand, and step forward as a calm leader. By choosing to rise to the occasion when others are trembling, you build an unshakable reputation for reliability, discover your true capabilities, and prove that external storms cannot destroy an internally anchored mindset. Imagine being trapped in a freezing mudflat survival exercise during Hell Week, where you and your fellow trainees are being submerged up to your necks in cold, thick, agonizing mud for hours on end while the instructors actively try to coerce you into quitting. In this incredibly powerful chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven shares an unforgettable anecdote where the entire class was on the absolute brink of psychological and physical collapse, ready to give up their dreams of becoming Navy SEALs just to escape the biting wind and numbing cold. The instructors promised that if just 5 men quit, everyone could leave the mud and sit by a warm fire, a temptation that was successfully breaking the resolve of the exhausted group. But just as the spirit of the class was completely fracturing, a lone voice began to sing a song out of tune in the darkness, followed by another voice, and then another, until the entire group of trainees were singing together at the top of their lungs, completely defying the instructors and generating an unshakable warmth from within. McRaven uses this deeply moving event to illustrate that a single individual possesses the immense power to shift the energy of an entire room, to rally an exhausted team, and to give people hope when they are completely surrounded by despair. To apply this profound concept to our everyday modern lives, imagine a high-pressure office environment where a critical project has just suffered a catastrophic failure right before a massive deadline, leaving the entire team completely stressed, angry, and silently looking for someone to blame. In that exact moment, the default human response is to sink into negativity, join the chorus of complaints, and allow a toxic atmosphere to spread like wildfire. However, if you choose to step up as that lone voice of optimism, if you focus on the solution instead of the problem, and if you offer a word of genuine encouragement to a struggling colleague, you can completely break the cycle of defeatism. Hope is the most contagious force on the planet, and it does not require a grand, cinematic speech to activate. It starts with a simple choice to be the person who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. Think about your own social circle, your family dynamic, or your current workplace during moments of high tension. Are you contributing to the collective dread and anxiety of the people around you? Or are you actively choosing to be the spark that ignites their resilience? How much could you change the trajectory of someone's worst day simply by refusing to let the darkness silence your encouragement? By stepping up to provide hope in moments of collective vulnerability, you realize that true leadership is about carrying a torch into the shadows so that others can find their way forward. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this section emphasize that a single individual can transform a desperate situation by injecting hope, optimism, and encouragement into their environment. The primary actionable lesson is to consciously choose to be a source of positivity and strength whenever your team, family, or friends are facing a stressful or demoralizing situation. You must train yourself to resist the temptation to join in on collective complaining, and instead intentionally speak words of hope, highlight small victories, or offer practical support to those who are struggling to hold on. By recognizing that hope is a deliberate action rather than a passive feeling, you take responsibility for the emotional climate around you, proving that an unyielding spirit can inspire others to endure and overcome the most painful challenges. Imagine standing in front of a heavy brass bell hanging prominently in the center of the Navy SEAL training compound, knowing that all you have to do to escape the freezing mud, the sleepless nights, and the crushing physical torment is walk up and ring that bell 3 times. In this final climactic chapter, Admiral William H. McRaven delivers the ultimate commandment of elite performance: never, ever quit. He explains that throughout the brutal months of assessment, hundreds of incredibly talented, athletic trainees voluntarily walked up to that bell and rang it, instantly giving up their dreams for a moment of physical comfort, only to spend the rest of their lives regretting that single decision made in a moment of weakness. The instructors intentionally made quitting as easy and frictionless as possible because they wanted to ensure that only the completely unyielding souls made it through to graduation. To translate this high-stakes military trial into our everyday modern lives, consider a hypothetical scenario where you have spent 2 years working late nights to build a digital brand, an e-commerce store, or a creative portfolio. You have sacrificed your weekends, spent your savings, and missed social events. But the growth is slow, the revenues are low, and you suddenly face a wave of harsh criticism or a major platform algorithm shift that wipes out your visibility overnight. In that moment of deep exhaustion and frustration, the temptation to ring your own personal brass bell, to throw your hands up, delete your project, and accept a mediocre, comfortable life becomes almost overwhelming. It feels rational to stop trying when the world seems to be screaming that you are failing. However, McRaven points out that life is full of moments designed to test your absolute breaking point, and the only guaranteed way to fail at anything is to voluntarily choose to stop walking forward. Success is rarely a straight line of constant victories. It is an endurance race where the winner is simply the person who refuses to take their feet off the track, no matter how badly they are bleeding or how tired they feel. Think about the grandest aspirations and long-term projects you are pursuing right now that have left you feeling utterly drained and defeated. Are you on the absolute verge of walking away from a dream just because the current chapter of your life happens to be painful and inconvenient? How will you feel 5 or 10 years down the line if you look back and realize you surrendered right before the breakthrough was about to happen? By making an unshakable pact with yourself that quitting is simply not a valid option on your menu of choices, you remove the internal debate entirely, forcing your brain to focus exclusively on finding a way over, under, or through the obstacles in your path. Main points. The main points and actionable lessons from this final section demonstrate that perseverance is the absolute foundation of all meaningful achievement, and that quitting is a permanent decision made under temporary pain. The primary actionable lesson is to completely remove the option of giving up from your mindset, explicitly deciding before you even begin a difficult journey that you will never ring the bell. When you inevitably hit a wall in your career, education, or personal development, you must train yourself to view the intense desire to quit as a natural psychological filter designed to weed out the uncommitted and choose to take just one more step forward. By remaining steadfast during your lowest moments, you protect your long-term potential from short-term fatigue, ensuring that your ultimate destiny is determined by your grit rather than your temporary discomfort. And that brings us to the end of this incredible journey through Admiral William H. McRaven's blueprint for a disciplined life. Remember, transforming your entire world doesn't require a massive, overnight miracle. It starts with the absolute smallest choices you make today. Before you click off, let's lock in the key lessons we learned today. Start small by making your bed every single morning to claim your first victory. Find your crew, because no one can paddle through the storms of life alone. Measure your heart, not your limitations, when facing superior odds. Drive on through unfairness and treat every failure as a brutal training session to build your strength. Dare greatly. Stand up to the bullies and rise to the occasion when your night gets at its absolute darkest. And most importantly, above all else, never, ever ring that bell. If these 10 Navy SEAL principles spark something inside you today, hit that like button right now and subscribe to Visual Books so you never miss another life-changing summary. Drop a comment below telling me, which of these 10 rules are you going to start applying tonight? Thank you so much for watching. Keep building that discipline, and I will see you in the next video.